tell you, well, I tell you, if I were to leave New York City, it's an interesting thing because I've always lived in the Northeast. Actually, I've always lived in the tri-state area. They call the tri-state area New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. So I've never lived outside of the tri-state area. And I'm not trying to put anybody down or or cast aspersions or what have you, but even when I lived in New Jersey, which is just over the river, there's a certain element of culture shock. You know, what is it? It's not even 5 miles away, 6 miles away, but it's very different. It's very different. Like most of the rest of the country, you have to have a car. If you don't have a car, you ain't going no place. Unless, you just ain't. If you don't have a car, you want to go to the grocery store. It becomes a 3-hour safari, right? You have a car, you jump in the car, you go, you're back, you're done. 15 minutes. It's just I don't know. It's very different, very different. But where would I go? Well, there's quite a few places that I would like to experience. I'm not even sure that I would consider living there long term, but I've never been, and that's all I would love to experience them. For example, I've never been to Chicago, but I would love to just go and just check it out. I have never been to Houston except to fly through it. I think that might be interesting. Never been to Phoenix. Never been to St. Louis. So there's a whole host of places. Portland, Oregon, I hear is really, really cool. Now I don't know anything about the cost of living in Portland, Oregon, so that's an issue right there. What I may very well do in the coming weeks is go someplace that's allegedly really, really, really cheap. Like, excuse me, for example, Singapore. I've heard that Singapore is like, you can live pretty nicely on $20 a day. And needless to say, here, that's to even say such a thing would be an embarrassment. Although I suppose you might be able to pull it off here, but you'd have to try to get yourself into a rent control apartment. If you rent a room in somebody's house, the horror stories just abound. It's so weird in New York. It's like people, they claim they need money and they're going to rent out a room in their house, or they're going to rent out a room in their apartment, and then the first thing they start doing is harassing you. I had a friend who, there's a part of Queens, New York called Astoria, and she got actual apartment, not a rented room, and no sooner had she moved her stuff in there than the idiot landlady's son drilled a hole in the wall so that he could watch her bathe. I mean, that's that's the kind of stupidness that goes on, right? It's just like, you really, 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 really are working at being a loser if that's the kind of crap you have to do to get your jollies off. But anyway, so yeah, like I said, there's a laundry list of places, even here in the States. I've also thought about Toronto. Now that's an interesting concept because I don't know what the cost of living there is. I have a friend who does a lot of business there, and so he seems to really like it. I hear the winters can be a little rough, because you're going a little bit closer to the North Pole, right? So you got that whole 4 or 5 feet of snow as opposed to 10 inches of snow thing going on. But I'm glad I said that because I think I will take a trip to Toronto and just hang out, see what I see. I have considered Mexico. It's, I hear it can get a little bit dicey, but then again, New York can be dicey, so what am I talking about? But I've also heard that Atlanta's kind of cool. I haven't been to Atlanta in a while, but the last time I was there, I had an absolute blast. I had I had more fun than I knew what to do with. I've got friends in Los Angeles. I think Los Angeles is almost as expensive as New York, but I would certainly consider it just because I have that net of friends there, and I would love to be able to see them on a more regular basis. So I do have a few options. I would, I think I would love to live in Paris. I think I would absolutely love it, and I have never heard anybody complain about Paris. Now, of course, all the people I know are Americans, right? So that American passport does things for you, right? It really does. Anybody tells you otherwise is a dunce. But I am definitely going to go to Paris. I might even splurge and do it for a month. In terms of relocation, again, I hear that Paris is almost as expensive as New York, if not more so. But I am going to check that out, and I'll get back to you on this because the more I talk about it, the more intrigued I get.